Tuesday, everybody. A little different from us coming at you live as South Carolina Board of Trustees approves the new baseball coaching staff with Paul Mainieri and his guys, include Monty Lee included as well. Jack, we're here to break it all down. The new hirings have been announced, and everything's official. Paul Mainieri kind of coming out of left field out of last night and into Monday. And gets the job. Not really a candidate that, we really saw coming or anybody really saw coming, and it happened really, really fast. But Jack, first off, as always, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a crazy 24 hours of getting this all kind of situated and handling everything, but we're here, and today is a great day for any South Carolina Gamecock fans out there. This is look, we'll get into all the details here shortly, but for right now, I think everyone should just be excited that this is a new era of Gamecock baseball, and it's going to be really exciting to see how this all unfolds over the next few years. Big props to Ray Tanner for going all out, and this administration for going all out, not being afraid to spend money like they should. And yeah, I mean, this is the first step in getting this program back to relevancy and back to where they want to go, which ultimately will be Omaha and winning a College World Series.
Yeah, getting a guy like Mainieri, certainly the move that you want to make. He checks every single box, right, Jack? I mean, he's got all the baseball senses that you want. He's won a College World Series. He's developed a program, took LSU to where they are now, and built that program up to what it is. So, I mean, this is, kind of a dream hire considering where you were at with the search. And so there's a lot you should be excited about. And I'm also excited. I mean, I think the one concern that I've heard thrown around with this Mainieri hiring is that obviously, it's not going to be, a long-term field, but you never know, right? I mean, the deal is for 5 years, $1.3 million annually. And so, there's a lot you can go with. And then, I mean, when you have a legendary head coach like that coming in to take over your program, it's not like you're starting from the basement. It's not like you're starting from ground zero again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, it is a 5-year deal. So I know people have been worried about the fact that, he's 66 years old and he's going to be 67 by the time he coaches his first game at South Carolina. I think that's just, first off, I think it's kind of just a lazy take, to be honest. Yeah. You're not really – if you're only looking at his age as the reason for why this isn't a good hire, I've seen people actually throw that around, that it's not a good hire mainly because of his age. That's a lazy take, in my opinion. This is a guy that checks off every single box, like you said, Joe, in terms of what you want in terms of a winning head coach. I mean, he's made 6 trips to Omaha. He's won a College World Series. He's got 1,500 wins. When he returns to coaching officially, he'll be the active wins leader in college baseball right now. I don't know what else you really want besides that. Look, he's 66, but he feels like he's got a lot of years left ahead of him still. I mean, I was speaking to someone from LSU's On3 site, and they were saying that Mainieri's, he's still kind of youthful in terms of the fact that he's got some years left to coach. So, look, and it's not just going to be him. It's Monty Lee, Terry Rooney. You have a great staff assembled that can get the job done. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch over, in 2025 and beyond as this baseball program tries to get back to where they are. But without a shadow of a doubt, this was the right move, and I think it's a home run hire for Ray Tanner and company.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at all the hirings that process today. Obviously, you have a new softball coach, new men's golf coach as well. All really, really, really good hirings with experience. Obviously, the men's golf coach has won a couple of national championships at Purdue, so that's a home run hire as well. And then we know Coach Mainieri likes to play some golf too, so it should be a pretty good pairing. Pistol Grip Jesus says had Notre Dame rolling there in his time there. Yeah, absolutely. Notre Dame to LSU. So I obviously, being from South Bend, think this is a great hire as well. EXO says ND wish they had him back. Yeah, quite haven't had this same level of success without Link as well, or since Link and Paul were both at Notre Dame and both making similar jumps to big SEC programs. Well, I mean, Link went to Florida State. You get what I'm saying. Steven says, I look forward to the next year and all 3 new hires. EXO, same thing. Looking forward to the first press conference. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear him talk and also see him in the garnet and black. It'll probably be a little weird to see him in garnet and black for the first time after being in purple and gold for that long.
I would assume it's probably going to be. Obviously there's no official word on when the introductory press conference would be. If I had to guess, today's Tuesday, so I would assume maybe by the end of the week we get some sort of press conference here, and I would be interested to see if Monty Lee and Terry Rooney are included in that. Personally, I would like to see them included just to get to talk to them and kind of get their. Well, first off, why did Monty decide to come back? Obviously, in terms of salary, this leads right into the next question. Is Monty now the highest paid assistant? For South Carolina, yeah. So he will be making. So here's the contract breakdown of the other two assistants. So Terry Rooney's contract's going to be 3 years, ending May 31st, 2027. Same deal with Monty Lee, May 31st, 2027. The difference is Monty's going to be making $550,000 annually, and Rooney will be making $425,000 annually. So with Rooney, expect him to be working as the pitching coach, but he's also a heck of a recruiter. So he will also probably be helping in terms of recruiting, and same deal with Monty, except Monty's going to be working with the hitters and stuff. And don't forget, they also still have one more assistant job open on staff. So I would expect that to be filled eventually here. But in terms of the three guys they have right now, again, this really is a good trifecta of coaches. Whoever you get as the last paid assistant would be I don't know who it's going to be, but it would be huge, and already it'd be the cherry on top to what's already a really Omaha caliber staff. And keeping Monty Lee was the huge addition here. I mean, he had opportunities to go coach maybe at Citadel or Winthrop. We'll see what happens, but I think right now keeping Monty with what he can do in terms of recruiting and keeping a lot of these guys that are on the current team back for next season. We'll see what happens over the next few days, but it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and John Hendry out of UVA has been hired in that last spot.
According
to the press release. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, I love the addition of, obviously keeping Monty around, but also, having, having Terry Rooney come in, because Terry Rooney has been Mainieri's right-hand man in recruiting for the longest time, right? I was listening to Jay and Elijah over on 107.5 The Game earlier, and they were chatting with one of the LSU guys. Can't remember his name, so excuse me for that. But yeah, he had mentioned Terry Rooney's significance, and obviously you mentioned Paul Mainieri's age, and he's getting up there, right? He doesn't have necessarily the gas to go recruit showcases in Florida and everywhere else, and really get into the nooks and crannies. So it's beneficial, obviously, to have Monty Lee because of the in-state power. You obviously wanted to keep that to some extent, even though PJ Morlando is probably not going to come to South Carolina. To have that reputation stick at the flagship program in the state is pretty good. And then you have a guy like Terry who can go into the cracks, really go get guys, and then help reestablish your program onto a national brand.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, I mean, this is again, like we said, it's a great hire. And here's a quote from Paul Mainieri in the press release that I'm looking at right now. I think it's really fascinating. Quote: "This is a wonderful opportunity to coach at a prestigious and tradition-rich big college baseball program," Mainieri said. "I coached and competed against Ray Tanner for years and always had the greatest respect for him in the USC program. To now join with him on the same team and become a part of this program was simply something from which I could not walk away. We have a super coaching staff in place. I feel great and energized. I can't wait to get started working with the players and let's get this University of South Carolina baseball program back to where it belongs, in Omaha and in the College World Series." If that doesn't get you fired up right there, I don't know what will. This is seriously, guys, this is an awesome coaching staff he's put together. And this tells me that they're going for it all. There's no holding back. You're putting you're not bringing Paul Mainieri out of retirement to not go all the way. Like Ray Tanner has probably put all his chips in the bag to go to Omaha. And look, within the next 5 years, I'd literally be shocked if this program did not get back once at least. But we'll have to see what happens. I definitely expect them to be competing for national championships and appearances in Omaha year after year. But again, it all depends on who comes and who stays player-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guy FG checking in with these new hires and the contracts amount. This shows how serious South Carolina is about their program. Yeah, all of them too. I mean, softball and men's golf included. And it was always been, or it always been part of these searches coming up. It's like, all right, Ray, like college athletics is ever more evolving, right? So you're gonna have to spend some money. You're gonna have to go into the bag and really set your whole athletics program up, for the future, right? You couldn't really fumble it and cheap out necessarily. And it's safe to say that Coach Tanner knocked every single one of these out of the park, right? Like he went the extra mile, went above and beyond to spend a little extra money to put Coach Mainieri into a position where he felt comfortable to take this job, come out of retirement in Baton Rouge too. Nonetheless, he'd been living in Baton Rouge for a while, since he retired or left the Tigers. So I think there's a lot of credit to go around in that office, but most in particularly Coach Tanner and everything that he and Chance Miller have been able to get done with these hirings.
Yeah, and here's an interesting stat in terms of money and stuff. With SEC baseball, at least this year, might change next year. Who knows? There were 9 programs that were paying their coaches over $1 million. And look, money is not the end all be all. But now South Carolina is paying Mainieri to come in and coach this team for the next 5 years at a $1.3 million bargain right there. And I feel like that puts them right in the pack of like they have something serious cooking here, and they're not playing around. And that goes for all these new hires. With softball, you get Ashley Chastain, and she'll be making $300,000 annually, and she also has a 5-year contract that'll go till June 30th, 2029. And then with men's golf, you have Rob Bradley, who will be making $240,000 annually, 5-year deal ending May 31st, 2029. So with softball specifically, it's a tough it's going to be a tough place to play. It's South Carolina softball over the years has not been particularly great. Yeah, they've made some regionals, but no further than that, and it's tough. But I do think, despite how much tougher it's going to get with Oklahoma and Texas joining the fold, this is a hire that should excite the Gamecock community because, one, you're bringing back one of your own. Ashley played at South Carolina as a pitcher back in the day, and that right there, she knows what the expectations are at South Carolina, and she knows what it takes to win here. So how will it translate over? Not sure. You could say the same thing for any of these hires, but the point is Ray Tanner went out and hired the best people for the jobs in all of these 3 sports, and it's looking like a lot of people are not going to be questioning his hiring decisions, at least for right now, because I know that was something that was definitely in question at the beginning of this hiring process.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's Burley checking in too. I didn't want to get this out of the. I'd want to get out of Baton Rouge too. It's bad with mosquito. Yeah, no kidding. Mosquitoes are getting bad around here too. And obviously it's heating up for the summer. But yeah, Coach Mainieri is now a Gamecock. There is a new regime in Columbia taking over Founders Park, and it's an exciting day too. Again, because of the the funding is one thing, but then also too that means the athletic department and Ray Tanner, which obviously you knew he was going to take this hiring seriously and all of this round of hiring seriously. But it also shows that South Carolina is ready to step up to the plate in terms of however collegiate athletics is going to evolve in these next couple months. So you saw the pledge from it. They stepped up and hit all of these hirings out of the park. And I have a couple friends who worked with the golf team at Purdue. They were all really excited for Coach coming over. He also helped redesign their new golf course. So the men's golf program is getting a winner there too. And so all 3 hirings just bang, bang, bang. And then also you mentioned the assistants too, bringing in Terry Rooney, such a good hire because of what he can do for you recruiting on the national level. And he essentially is the the talent, or essentially he's going to tap into the national brand that was South Carolina baseball. It's like you have to, right, when you're recruiting. It's like help us get back to where we were, making 3 straight national championships as a baseball program, because it's possible, because we got this coach, we have all this funding, we're ready to go. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, Jack, you pulled this one up.
Yeah, this comment's interesting, and I'll get to Terry Rooney in a second because I do have some thoughts on it. Tay SC 1969 says, "Never underestimate pessimistic Gamecock fans' ability to find a negative, even in a home run hire." No comment, but I mean, it's not technically wrong, I guess. Look, you're not going to be able to satisfy everyone. People are looking at the age and like thinking that it's not a good hire just because of that. I don't understand it. I get that he hasn't been coaching in baseball since 2021, and the portal and NIL and recruiting's become such a big thing. But that's why Paul has these other guys coming in like Monty Lee and Terry Rooney that can handle recruiting and handle all that stuff. I mean, with Terry Rooney specifically, I'm glad you brought him up. When he was at Old Dominion in 2000 and 2001, he was responsible for recruiting and bringing in what will be a future Hall of Famer in Justin Verlander, who pitched with the Tigers, and he's now with the Astros, and he's well on his way to being a first ballot Hall of Famer in Cooperstown someday. So that right there just shows you, okay, this guy's serious, and he's also been able to develop pitching over the years. He's had 20 guys get selected within the first 10 rounds of the MLB draft. And look, when he was at LSU, the year that LSU won the title in 2009, he was part of that recruiting staff that was able to bring in the number one recruiting class in the country that year, and it really helped out. So it's going to be big. I think bringing in those guys from LSU that have proven they are big in terms of helping LSU become what they are in terms of winning is massive, and I think it's going to really translate over well. Couple that with the fact that Monty Lee is going to be helping out with recruiting, and his, he knows South Carolina inside and out. It's massive. I don't think you could have dreamed up a better coaching staff, given that you also have John Hendry from UVA joining the mix.
Yeah, the John Hendry addition's great too. Really rounding out this staff. But I mean, Jack, you mentioned Monty there too. The in-state thing is crazy good because you keep all of the recruiting power that you have in state. You're not losing any of it with holding on to Monty Lee, and then you go get Terry Rooney. As FG brings up, you have a handful of LSU insiders saying how much losing Rooney hurts their program. Yeah, it's going to be huge for the Gamecocks because, again, you have two mastermind recruiters as compared to last year where you just mainly had the one and Monty Lee. So so much gain for this baseball program, and the new regime is taken over, and Burley says, proof is in the pudding. Yeah, it's going to be. And again, I think this hire and the fact that, the candidacy is one thing, but like just the fact how it came so out of left field shows you that Ray Tanner and his office are working harder than the rest of us, and they are not giving anything away.
No, man, seriously, like anyone that's really questioning these hires just isn't really looking at the stats. Sorry, it's true. Like Ray Tanner did his homework here. He went out and hired a guy that no one had on their candidate list. It's like I'm looking at all these other websites, like even Gamecock Central. Like no one saw this coming, and the fact that Ray was able, I don't think this was something that it was just a last minute decision. Like he called up Mainieri and was like, hey, man, can you come coach for us next year? We need an answer right now. No, I don't think it was like that. I think he's always had this in the back of his mind. And look, I think he made the right decision. While he is older, while there are younger guys out there, do they have the same amount of experience and pedigree that this guy does? This is a nationally renowned head baseball coach. Enough said, and I think it's going to be the right move. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, the staff that they've assembled is a dream team type of staff.
Yeah. Now comes the factor of, the transfer portal, right? It's going to open up. Guys are going to leave. Guys are going to stay, depending on what Mainieri and Lee and Rooney's plans are for this program. But, I mean, we'll have to see, how that shakes out. Jack, I don't know if you've gotten any indication from, the guys inside the room. I know it's been hard to gather some stuff over these last couple of days because this has all happened so fast.
We'll be able to gather some more intel on, like, who might be staying, who might be leaving over the next few days, just because I think a lot of guys have been waiting to see who the next head coach is going to be. You have your obvious guys that have entered the portal that just didn't play at all this year, and it makes sense. I mean, they entered right from the jump, even right after Mark Kingston got fired. But I think a lot of guys have been waiting to see, okay, who's the new coach going to be? Is Monty going to be on staff? I'm telling you guys, like that is going to be a big difference maker with who stays and who goes. I think a lot of guys are going to want to stick around and play for Monty and this coaching staff. I mean, who wouldn't, honestly? Like, I think, I don't know. I think a lot of guys are going to end up staying, and we'll see what happens. But I think a lot of them would be crazy to leave the current situation. Like, who wouldn't want to be a part of this team that could potentially get back to Omaha? Think about how cool that would be to be on the team that gets to Omaha for the first time in, however many years. I mean, I don't know. I think some guys would be crazy to leave, but that's just me. I understand everyone's different, and some guys want more playing time. Some want different opportunities. We'll see what happens. I expect Mainieri to meet with the team within the next few days, probably, and there'll obviously be some interviews, I'm sure, with uh, all the guys on the team, and Monty will have to really help out with getting keeping some guys around. But at the same time, like FG says, roster attrition may not be as bad as most think. Again,
I don't think it's
even if some guys leave, it's not the end of the world, because again, let's be real. I mean, this team did not live up to the hype this year. They were an exit in regional play, so that tells me that there's room to be. There's a lot left to be desired, and if some guys leave, okay, go to the transfer portal and bring in new talent. And they also have a really good recruiting class coming in next year, and we'll see who ends up coming in and all that. But again, I think they have the tools in place to keep most of this team around. It's really up to the players, if they want to stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, I mean, this Paul Mainieri hire has been it was a big splash, right? There could have been a bunch of different directions that Tanner went in, but he decided to go obviously with the big splash one. You kind of needed to make one for this one for this hiring. So how important was that to go get a guy with the namesake and with the experience and just really kind of surprised everyone?
Yeah, again, there were probably like 7 candidates that we've talked about over the past week on Gamecock Central, and none of them were Paul Mainieri. And I think there were some guys that have a winning pedigree. I think McDonald from Louisville was probably like he's been to Omaha a few times. You have guys like Cliff Godwin who. Much respect to those guys. They just haven't been to Omaha. You have Chris Pollard from Duke, hasn't been to Omaha. Tom Walter's been to Omaha, but he was a first round exit in regional play this year. So I think you just don't want to take chances, and that's the big thing with this hiring process. You don't want to take any risks. Like there were guys out there like Landon Powell that I know fans were lobbying for just because he's a former Gamecock and stuff. But and you have someone like Josh Elander from Tennessee, who I thought would have been a really solid guy to bring in and be the head coach. But again, Tennessee's season's still going on, so you don't want to wait forever. And also, he's never been a head coach before, so who knows how that translates. Point is, you can't take any risks with this hiring process. You got to be able to bring in a guy that you know is going to be able to get the job done. And Paul Mainieri checks off all those boxes. Again, 6 trips to Omaha. He's won a College World Series. He has won, I believe, 4 SEC regular season titles and 6 conference tournament titles in Hoover. I believe those numbers are correct on those tournament titles. Point is, in 11 of his 14 years at LSU, they were able to win some sort of title of the sort, whether it's a regional title, a conference title, national championship, getting to Omaha. I mean, look, this guy seriously is the guy that maybe gets them back to the top. We're going to see how it all shapes out. But again, I think he is ready to coach. He's hungry and ready to get back to the top.
Yeah, most definitely, Jack. A couple more things, obviously, real quick before we hit some ads. Leading into this year, it adds more of a a baseball coach or another guy that's a threat in the SEC. How do you think the rest of the SEC, is going to react to this? How does this shake things up in the SEC, or if it does? I mean,
well, I think it puts South Carolina right in the mix of top dogs in the SEC. Obviously, there are 4 teams going to the College World Series from the SEC this season. You have, let's see, Florida, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Kentucky. So right there, those are 4 really well-established and solid programs. Not to mention you also have teams like Arkansas and LSU, who will also be very good next year. We'll see what happens, but I do think South Carolina can hang with these teams. Again, we don't know what the team is going to look like necessarily next year. There could be a ton of roster retention and different faces on this team next year. We'll see what happens, but I do think if you're able to get a more experienced and well-balanced pitching staff, along with some other hitters to help out the Ethan Petries of the world if he sticks around, and Kennedy Jones and some of these other guys, you can have a really solid group next year. And couple that with the fact that you have coaches that lead and have gotten to the top before, it really is a good recipe for success.
Oh yeah, most definitely. EXO checking in. I'm excited for Coach. He's a great guy, down to earth and humble, very aware of how important tradition and loyalty is. He will understand USC as a baseball brand and what the fans expect. Yeah, that was my last point before we get to some ads here real quick. EXO brought it up really well. This is a guy that understands high expectations, right? I mean, Coach Kingston was fired for, what at a lot of programs in the country would be viewed as a booming success. But I mean, at an SEC program like South Carolina, and I think expectations are clearly differently. And so you go get the guy who's had to be under the microscope at a place like LSU, and had to battle through all of that and all of their expectations. This guy gets it. Right, there will be no surprises. Like if it goes south, it goes south. If it goes north, it's gonna go really, really north, and it's gonna wind up obviously in South Carolina's favor, because when you take a bet on a guy like this, it usually works out. So I'm also excited for it. I think the expectations thing though, like he understands what the fans want and how much they mean it, right? Because I think that can get lost in translation with some of these coaches. It's like, no, it's different down here, and the game is a lot different. So yeah, did want to bring that up. So it is time for the ads. First sponsor of the day is our good friend Clint Hammond of the Movement Mortgage Network. In need of help with your mortgage, call on our good friend Clint Hammond at the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy that comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth with their mortgages. So give our guy Clint a call. He's above us on all of our GC Live programming. 803-422-6797. Once again, 803-422-6797. You can also reach him at clint.hammond.com. Our also ad for today is our good friend Andy Luedecke at myperfectfranchise.net. Are you ready to leave the corporate rat race for the American dream, looking for a side hustle while working on your current job, wanting to diversify, build wealth, and or leave a legacy? Andy can help. Andy's a franchise consultant as well as franchise owner and helps find franchises that fit, or help people find their franchises that fit their needs, skill sets, financial requirements, time to commit, and more. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. You can contact him on your screen right now and at Andy at myperfectfranchise.net and at 404-973-9901. Once again, 404-973-9901 or at Andy at myperfectfranchise.net for all of your franchise needs. Jack, pretty good show today. A lot of people checking in.
Yeah, we've got over 1,000 viewers right now, man. That's awesome.
Big hiring. Obviously, South Carolina baseball hiring Paul Mainieri, and then also bringing in Terry Rooney to help recruit John Hendry, rounding off the staff, as well as Monty Lee getting a big extension. Knew I was going to fumble one there, but yes, a lot of coaching staff changes as well. Softball, their big hirements, golf. So plenty of things to be excited about in South Carolina athletics this Tuesday.
And here's a good sign. Again, it doesn't mean everything yet, but it is something to keep note of. I was just scrolling through Instagram, and South Carolina baseball made the post on their Instagram of the hiring of Paul Mainieri, and I saw Ethan Petrie reposted it on his Instagram story. So I don't know. That's a good sign right there, man. Like, seriously, if you're able to keep a guy like him around, I think it would be crazy for a lot of these guys that have all the potential in the world to go to a different school. Like, I get it. If you want a different opportunity, great. But you have a chance to go back to Omaha for the first time since 2012, man. Like, this school is serious about baseball and all these other sports as well, and they're putting the money into it. So I think it's big. We'll see what happens, but I mean, look, this is a great staff assembled. Now it's just about get the team together and let's see what happens next season. It's gonna be a lot of fun to cover and watch over the next few months here.
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, all right, Jack. This is this week's edition of Foul Balls. We're trading this time slot of this day with Mike Yuva talking Tuesdays, our normal show. We'll be talking Thursdays on Thursday, so we'll be doing our offensive football breakdown. But we figured we'd have to switch, do a little trade to make sure everyone got a little bit of a reaction from the Paul Mainieri hiring, and then also Terry Rooney getting hired, John Henry rounding out the staff, and Monty Lee, as always,
Awesome.
sticking around. So, Jack, anything else before we get out of here?
Exciting times for Gamecock baseball, guys. Exciting times in general for Gamecock athletics, and it's gonna be really fun to watch how this all unfolds in 2025 and beyond. And yeah, get hyped because this is where the fun begins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in to this week's edition of Foul Balls. As always, enjoy the rest of your week. And if you missed us, go over to YouTube, and next to the subscription button, there's a little bell icon. So that way you won't miss us next time on GC Live Foul Balls. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your week.